Welcome to All About St. Paul, where we feature videos about city services, programs, entertainment, and more.
He's Nick Nelson from the city's video production team.
And she's Liz Wagner, a communications pro from the city's Parks and Recreation Department.
Coming up on this week's show,
National Night Out comes to St. Paul.
we visit Safety Camp.
A grand idea for a great view.
Learn how the city invests in arts and culture.
And new rules are on the way for Skyways.
All of that and more coming up on All About St. Paul.
For this week's show, we are in Kellogg Park, which sits right on the Mississippi River here in downtown St. Paul.
Kellogg Park, like the street it runs along, is named for one of St. Paul's leading citizens of the 1920s, Frank B. Kellogg. Kellogg served as a U.S. Senator from Minnesota before taking on the roles of Ambassador to Great Britain and Secretary of State. Today, Kellogg Park spans 3 city blocks, from Wabasha Bridge on the west to Robert Street Bridge on the east. The green space features 2 fountains and gorgeous views of the Mississippi River Valley.
Well, this awesome view brings folks down to the river for events or just to take a stunning selfie. City planners and visionaries are hoping to take it to the next level with something called the River Balcony.
Of all the dynamic changes downtown St. Paul has seen in recent years, new trains, new ballpark, new life for old buildings. The most important change of all may be a change in attitude towards the Mississippi River.
We turned our back on the river for a century, and over the last 20 years we've been making that connection again. So whether it was the work at Harriet Island or the trails along Shepherd Road, this is the next phase of that, to really connect the downtown area directly to the riverfront, have this beautiful walk that would go from Lower Town all the way up to Seven Corners. It really captures the imagination.
It took imagination and long-term vision for an idea called the River Balcony. It came from a master plan adopted by the St. Paul City Council in 2013, known as the Great River Passage, which outlines ways to make St. Paul's 26 miles of Mississippi riverfront more accessible to the public.
So the concept of the river balcony is about a 1.2-mile elevated pedestrian pathway from the Science Museum to Union Depot on the downtown side of the river. So it's up on the high part of the bluff. It will be publicly accessible at all times, and we hope to have different things happening along the river balcony. So in some parts you might be walking along it, and other parts you might stop and have a beer. There might be some public art activities along it, but the point is that it will be a public, about 22-foot wide walkway all the way from the Science Museum to the Union Depot.
The balcony will offer great views of the river valley, and for those who want to get right down to the water's edge, boardwalks near the Science Museum and Union Depot, and a land bridge below Kellogg Park will connect pedestrians down to the Sam Morgan Regional Trail along the shoreline. The river balcony is a grand concept, but it won't be completed overnight. Cooperation between public and private property owners will be crucial. Ramsey County owns several parcels that are integral to the plan, including the Ramsey County Government West and East properties.
Ramsey County has always understood that these are very valuable parcels, more valuable eventually than just having county staff in them. So their real estate program is to sell both of those and eventually get them back on the tax rolls. We will really use opportunities along the way when private developers are ready to do something on parcels. We will work with them to design the river balcony right at their site. And then when we do work on Kellogg Mall Park, we would be the lead in that, and then we would lead the design and probably the funding of that part. So it really will take all parties to make this work over time.
The likely first phase of the project will connect properties on the eastern portion of the downtown bluff from Robert Street to the Union Depot, including the Custom House Hotel and apartment development in the former post office building. The central and western portions of the balcony will be developed later. On the river itself, other exciting plans are in the works.
We have been working with Viking River Cruises. They are interested in coming up to St. Paul for the first time, and we want them to land at Lower Landing, which is just over my shoulder. So it's a nice coordination with the river balcony in that that's one of the locations where those elevated boardwalks will come down to the river's edge. So people can get off the Viking cruise ship, walk up that elevated boardwalk, and be immediately at Union Depot and connect to other regional rail or light rail.
Viking cruise ships, which travel extensively on European rivers, could be docking in St. Paul as soon as 2017.
So you can imagine visitors from across the world would be coming up the Mississippi River, and their first contact with the city of St. Paul would be to connect to this river balcony, really bring them into downtown and maybe to a game at CHS Field or an event at Rice Park or Mears Park. It's just a great opportunity.
You can keep up with the latest plans for the river balcony by visiting their website at stpaul.gov/riverbalcony.
We are in an amazing part of the Mississippi River. Many people don't get to enjoy it, and we really feel like giving them this public pathway will allow them to understand the grandeur of this river here and really reconnect to it again. It's an economic development opportunity as well for those parcels that will be redeveloped adjacent to the balcony. So it's a great thing for the city.
That video was produced last year during the unveiling of the River Balcony Plan. Here with an update is Mary DeLate, manager of the Great River Passage Initiative. Mary, tell us a little bit about the Great River Passage and how the River Balcony falls into that.
So the Great River Passage is actually two things. It is a place. It's the 17 miles of the Mississippi River that flows through the city of St. Paul, and it's an initiative. The goals of the initiative are actually to connect residents to and along the river to create the next generation of park users and river stewards. The River Balcony is one of 3 capital projects that we are going to be running for the Great River Passage Initiative.
So what are the next steps in turning this exciting project into a reality?
Well, in March, we convened all the stakeholders to see if they were interested in moving the project forward, and of course they were. So the next step is actually schematic design. So we are working with all our partners to raise the funds to move into schematic design, which will also give us a vision, phasing, and cost estimates. And then from there, we can really understand and make informed decisions about how to go forward with this really ambitious, transformative project.
If you'd like to learn more about the River Balcony or the Great River Passage Plan, go to greatriverpassage.org.
Well, city parks like this one are a great location for neighborhood get-togethers like the recent National Night Out celebration. National Night Out encourages neighbors to get outside and get to know each other in an effort to fight crime.
This is Todd Axtell, St. Paul Police Chief, and we're at the House of Hope. It's August 1st, 2017, and we are here for the kickoff of National Night Out. The St. Paul Police Department is so proud of the relationship that we have with our community, built upon a trusting relationship. And National Night Out really allows us to build those relationships for our officers to get to know community members, for community members to get to know each other, and really it's a fun night for the St. Paul Police Department.
Summer camps are an annual tradition, and you don't have to go up north to participate. St. Paul Parks and Recreation has a ton of summer camps right here in the city.
One of those is called Safety Camp, and it's where kids learn life skills from police and fire personnel, and we were able to attend.
School's out for the summer, but learning never stops. Just ask these kids.
I learned that you should stop, drop, and roll. Make signals when you're on the highway, like stop and turn.
Make your campfire 10 paces away from your tent.
That's just a portion of what they learned at Safety Camp. In St. Paul, about 90 boys and girls attended Safety Camp, an annual 2-day event for kids ages 6 to 12. They learned about fire safety, avoiding hazards in the home, water safety, bicycle safety, and much, much, much more. The City of St. Paul, local sponsors, and volunteers joined together for this year's event at Jimmy Lee Rec Center. Who knew learning about safety could be so much fun? Hey kids, what was the best part of Safety Camp?
My favorite part of camp would be climbing the walls over there.
The puppy.
Doing the Boy Scouts things in the field.
Let's try walking here. My favorite thing was petting the horses. I got to blow out fake fire. My favorite thing was biking, swimming, the canines. The rock climbing thing.
My favorite thing was gonna be swimming.
My favorite was riding the fire truck. I don't really have a favorite. I like everything.
I really like Safety Camp because I'm meeting new people at all times.
Making new friends, having fun, and learning how to be safe. Sounds great. So, what do the rest of the kids think? Contact St. Paul Parks and Recreation for more information about Safety Camp.
Once again, we are in Kellogg Park along the river in downtown. If you've gone by at happy hour, you may have seen folks enjoying a hoppy beverage from a portable beer tap. The Kellogg Craft Beer Overlook combines views and brews and is the brainchild of B-Horse Productions, which is also responsible for the popular Music and Mirrors Park series and the newer Rhythm and Rice and performances in Pedro events. Well, this is Brian Horst. He's the owner of a hair salon, but he's also a big downtown booster and somewhat of an entertainment mogul. Brian, before we get to the beer, why did you start B-Horse Productions?
I started B-Horse Productions largely to facilitate the events that I had already started. Like you'd mentioned, the Music and Mirrors, Rhythm and Rice performances in Pedro. In 2017, I expanded and largely to bring more activity to more parks. We have a lot of great assets with our parks that a lot of people aren't even aware of. So I kind of put it under that umbrella, somewhat legitimized it, and I'm bringing energy to the craft beer industry, the nonprofit industry, and the beautiful parks where we're standing right now.
So we talked earlier in the show about the river balcony idea, and this gets us to the Kellogg Craft Beer Overlook. How does that play into this concept of the river bringing vitality to the city?
Well, you know, as a river town, we have a beautiful asset here, and in the water, but we also have a beautiful asset in the grass and concrete that's lying above it. Last fall, I did a little soiree late in the year in this park, and what I found was a great deal of people didn't actually even know about Kellogg Mall Park, didn't know that there was 2 beautiful fountains here. And so that kind of lit a little fire under me to bring more energy, more focus to this park And I went ahead and proposed the Kellogg Craft Beer Overlook as a happy hour beer garden. Something a little different spin. It allows 4 days a week, so it allows more partnerships with nonprofits. And it's just a wonderful thing to be able to partner the Minnesota craft industry with a very deserving nonprofit community. And if it brings awareness that helps support this balcony project, hey, I'm all in. I love it.
Well, that sounds great, Brian. Keep up the good work. The Kellogg Craft Beer Overlook is here through October, so do your next happy hour on the river. Brian, you have a cameo in this next video we're going to show. I mentioned that Brian also produces Music and Mirrors. Now, the city supports Music and Mirrors and other arts through something called the Cultural Star Program. Let's find out more.
The goals of the Cultural Star Program are to build and diversify audiences that come to cultural and arts events in St. Paul. We're both reflecting the communities that live here and just reflecting the cutting edge of arts and culture in general.
What we focus those investments on, those grants, is how can we support artists and creative people to drive vitality, to drive street life in the city of St. Paul. And again, predominantly in downtown St. Paul.
So Little Africa is the business and cultural corridor or district within Hamlin Midway. We see art and economic development as totally interconnected, like they feed into each other. And so for institutions like the city and other funders to recognize this very natural connection is incredible.
For 49 years now, Vocal Essence has been an organization that leads in the arts, primarily through choral music. And Cultural Star is just a phenomenal program because it's even bringing more programming in the arts to the area, and it's making the programming accessible. And I think that's the key going forward in the future, that Cultural Star is allowing us to bring diverse audiences to the cultural district that might not be there otherwise.
If you're a musician, or you're an actor, or a composer, your whole goal is to bring people out to see your work. And when folks go out to see your concert or to see your play, they're also going to come out and they're going to get coffees on the sidewalk cafes, they're going to have dinner, they're going to have drinks, and they're going to bring our town to life.
There's an intangible return that comes from arts, and it comes in the energy, it comes in these little mini magical moments that happen when you are supportive of the arts.
I think a successful application for the Cultural Star Program are programs that really draw audiences to St. Paul. We know there's amazing cultural offerings and art organizations all across St. Paul that are doing great programming and great events, and we'd like for all of them to apply for the Cultural Star Program.
Once again, the deadline for the Cultural Star Grant application is August 25th. Go to stpaul.gov and search Cultural Star.
Well, again, we are here in downtown, and one of downtown's great amenities is the Skyways system. New rules are on the way to make the Skyways work better for everyone. Let's learn more.
Our Skyways are a critical part of the vibrancy of downtown St. Paul, and that's important for everybody who's down here. Anybody who works here, goes to school here. We have a number of schools that are Skyway connected. People who live downtown. We have almost 9,000 people living downtown now, so it's really a critical connection between all parts of downtown. So the Skyway Vitality Work Group, which I co-chair with Deputy Mayor Kristen Beckman, is a place where all of those parties responsible for any portion of the Skyways and stakeholders come together. So the building owners, all the 6 different city departments that interact with the Skyways in some form, representatives from people who are experiencing homelessness, the youth community, and employers all come to the same table and figure out how to improve the climate in the Skyways.
You know, we've got 2 ordinance changes coming up. One is around behaviors allowed in the Skyway, kind of a code of conduct. And that will help make it very clear to people what they can and can't do in the Skyway, and work with our police officers and our private security officers in the buildings.
And then also we're updating and clarifying what we expect of our building owners. Again, this public-private partnership, what are the standards of security that we expect? And we did a really thorough job of talking to our building owners to understand how they're providing security in their buildings and what standard they think is reasonable to ask of their peers.
So if people have further input about what they'd like to see done in the Skyways, when they'd like to see them closed, how safe they think they are, how they could be kept more clean or more vibrant, we'd love that feedback. You can email the mayor's office, you can talk to your city council member, and we'll be having a public hearing coming up on September 6th, and then a vote at the city council on September 13th. And so if people have opinions about how long the Skyway should stay open or when they should close, they really should come down to City Council and engage in that conversation.
There is absolutely opportunity for public input, and that's really what I'm hoping to do over the next few weeks, is to hear from my constituents, to hear from people who use downtown for any purpose, people who live, work, play, and visit downtown. What do you think about these proposals, and what do you think the Skyway system should be?
Once again, to give your thoughts on the proposed Skyway regulations, the public hearing is 5:30 p.m. on September 6th at City Hall.
Well, that's it for this time on All About St. Paul. As usual, you can find all of the city's videos at youtube.com/stpaulgov.
See you next time.